Have you ever considered how anti-slavery laws have influenced the way corporations function today? This is a question that often gets overlooked, but the history and implications of these laws have shaped the modern business world in surprising ways. Let's rewind to the year 1807. An important milestone was reached that year in the United Kingdom. The abolition of the Slave Trade Act was passed, marking the beginning of the end for the global slave trade. This law didn't just change social norms, it also fundamentally altered the landscape of global commerce. Before this act, the economy was heavily reliant on the slave trade. Slavery was deeply entrenched in the business models of many corporations, especially those involved in industries like agriculture, textiles, and mining. But with the Abolition Act, corporations were forced to completely rethink their labor strategies. The shift wasn't immediate or easy. Many corporations struggled to adapt to this new era of regulated labor. They had to navigate their way through an entirely new economic model, one that valued the rights of all people and recognized the inherent dignity of every worker. The abolition of slavery wasn't just a moral victory, it was an economic revolution. It paved the way for a new era of business, one that prioritized human rights and ethical labor practices. This change didn't just affect the corporations of the time, but set the stage for the corporate world as we know it today. These early anti-slavery laws were the first steps towards a more ethical and sustainable corporate world. They forced corporations to reconsider their role in society and their responsibility towards their workers. They challenged the status quo and initiated a shift in mindset that continues to influence corporate decisions to this day. The abolition of slavery was the first step towards a more ethical and sustainable corporate world. Remember this as we continue to explore the fascinating journey of anti-slavery laws and their impact on corporations. Stay tuned for the next chapter where we delve into the emergence of corporate social responsibility. As anti-slavery laws evolved, so did the responsibilities of corporations. But how exactly? Well, let's journey back to the 20th century, a time when the concept of corporate social responsibility, or CSR, began to gain traction. This was a time when businesses were no longer just about profit margins and shareholder dividends. A new paradigm was emerging, one that considered the impact of corporate actions on society at large. CSR was born out of a response to societal pressure and the evolution of anti-slavery laws. As these laws became more stringent and widespread, corporations could no longer turn a blind eye to the conditions in which their products were manufactured or the people who manufactured them. In response to these laws and societal pressure, corporations began to adopt CSR policies. These policies were not just about compliance with laws, but about taking proactive steps to ensure that their operations did not support slavery or any form of exploitation. It was about ensuring that every part of their supply chain, from raw materials to end product, was free of forced labor. These CSR policies have had a profound impact on the operational and ethical standards in corporations. They have led to the creation of ethical sourcing policies, stricter supplier audits, and greater transparency in supply chains. They have also resulted in corporations investing in community development and employee welfare programs as a way of giving back to the society they operate in. Perhaps most importantly, these CSR policies have changed the way corporations view their role in society. They have made corporations realize that they are not just profit-making entities, but also social entities with a responsibility towards their employees, consumers, and the society at large. The influence of CSR has been so profound that it is now considered a key part of a corporation's identity. It's a badge of honor, a testament to a corporation's commitment to doing business ethically and sustainably. CSR, a child of anti-slavery laws, has become a cornerstone in the corporate world. It has changed the way corporations operate and has made them more accountable for their actions. It's a testament to how laws can not only restrict negative behavior, but also inspire positive change. Anti-slavery laws didn't just stop in the 19th century. They continue to evolve and shape corporations today. We've journeyed from the genesis of anti-slavery laws through the emergence of corporate social responsibility, and now we find ourselves in the 21st century, where the fight against slavery takes on new forms. In today's globalized world, anti-slavery laws have expanded beyond the abolition of traditional slavery. They now target modern forms of slavery, including forced labor and human trafficking. Two significant examples are the UK Modern Slavery Act of 2015 and the California Transparency in Supply Chains Act. The UK Modern Slavery Act, a landmark legislation, requires businesses with a turnover of over £36 million to publish annual statements outlining the steps they've taken to prevent slavery in their supply chains and own operations. It's not just about saying no to slavery, it's about proving it year after year. Across the pond, the California Transparency in Supply Chains Act echoes a similar sentiment. It mandates that large manufacturers and retailers publicly disclose their efforts to eradicate slavery and human trafficking from their supply chains. This law is particularly impactful as it applies to international companies doing business in California, a state with one of the largest economies in the world. These modern anti-slavery laws have fundamentally changed the way corporations operate. They've forced businesses to shine a light on their supply chains, to scrutinize every link for potential human rights abuses. It's no longer enough to turn a blind eye. Corporations are now held accountable for their supply chains from start to finish. In addition, these laws have ushered in an era of increased due diligence. Corporations are expected to actively identify, prevent and mitigate any potential risks of modern slavery within their operations. It's not just about compliance, but about making a genuine commitment to human rights. Modern anti-slavery laws have pushed corporations to be more transparent and accountable. They've forced businesses to step up, to ensure that the products we consume daily aren't tainted by the stains of modern slavery. In this 21st century fight against slavery, corporations are on the front line, and these laws are their guiding principles. So what does all this mean for corporations today? In our modern business landscape, anti-slavery laws have a profound impact. They've become a compass, guiding corporations towards ethical practices, but this journey isn't without its challenges. For starters, companies are now required to perform due diligence, a process that involves scrutinizing their supply chains to ensure they're free of forced labor. This is a tiresome task, given today's complex and globalized supply chains. It demands time, resources, and commitment. However, it's a crucial step, one that helps corporations avoid potential legal repercussions and reputational damage. Apart from legal obligations, these laws have also sparked a shift in corporate culture. Ethical sourcing is no longer an optional extra, but a non-negotiable standard. Businesses are now expected to know where their materials come from and how they were produced. In other words, they're held accountable for their supply chains. This shift presents a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for corporations to demonstrate their commitment to human rights and fair labor practices. Moreover, these laws have also necessitated fair labor practices within corporations. It's no longer enough to simply comply with minimum wage laws. Businesses must now ensure that their workers are not exploited in any way. This means fair pay, reasonable hours, and safe working conditions. While this might initially seem like a financial burden, it's important to remember that a happy, well-treated workforce is a productive one. In the long run, fair labor practices can lead to increased productivity and profitability. These laws have also pushed corporations to be more transparent. They're now expected to report on their efforts to combat slavery in their supply chains. While this requires additional work, it also helps corporations earn the trust of their consumers, who are increasingly concerned about the ethical footprint of the products they purchase. In essence, anti-slavery laws have pushed corporations to become more than just profit-making entities. They've encouraged them to become responsible corporate citizens, playing an active role in the fight against modern slavery. These laws have not only changed the way corporations operate, but also how they perceive their role in society. As we move forward, how might the evolution of anti-slavery laws continue to shape corporations? Let's venture into the realms of the future, shall we? We've seen the transformative power of anti-slavery laws on businesses, but the wheel of progress never stops turning. The laws that govern human rights and corporate responsibility are no exception. In the future, we might see stricter enforcement of these laws. Governments around the globe could potentially tighten their grip on corporations, ensuring that they adhere to the anti-slavery laws to the letter. Imagine a world where every business, big or small, is held accountable for its actions. A world where every corporation is a beacon of ethical conduct. These stricter laws could also expand in scope. They may no longer just cover direct employees, but also the wider supply chain. This means corporations could be held responsible not just for their own actions, but also those of their suppliers. It's a ripple effect of responsibility, ensuring that every link in the chain is free from the taint of slavery. These potential changes could significantly influence corporate operations. Businesses would need to be more vigilant, more proactive in ensuring their operations are clean. They would need to scrutinize their suppliers, ensuring that they too adhere to the highest ethical standards. And what about corporate social responsibility strategies? With stricter and wider scope anti-slavery laws, CSR would need to rise to the challenge. It could become more than just a nice-to-have, but a must-have. Businesses would need to integrate anti-slavery initiatives into the very fabric of their CSR strategies. They would need to lead the charge in creating a world free from slavery. The journey of anti-slavery laws and their impact on corporations is far from over. It's a journey towards a more ethical and sustainable future for all. As we step into this future, we carry the hope of creating a world where every business stands tall as a paragon of ethical conduct, a world where slavery has no place. Please like and subscribe and share this content.